Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Wolves of Shadowed Fate. Episode 32. Chapter 169 to 173. Graham's POV. The 1-year mark from Blake being put in a cell. This is 3 months later than the previous chapter. I was in my office when Forrest came in, and he was mad. There was no way to tell why, as he was a very temperamental kid on most days. I got him a smaller desk and had it put in next to mine, as he really has lost it, thinking that he will be the actual alpha. He will not. He would be a terrible alpha, so it will be me, making all of the decisions for the pack. Usually, I keep him busy by sending him on errands. He is costing me a lot of money in the last year, as he wrecked his car a week after he got it, trying to race someone and blowing the motor up, right before he wrecked it. He didn't care and wanted an immediate replacement. He got one, the same car, but I told him if he wrecked that, he was out of luck, he would have to earn money for the next one, and he settled down. We have spent the 2 million that I got from Aaron and his pack. I have been trying to get my hands on Reagan, but she is hard to get a hold of. I have men watching the gate from the woods across from Blackadder. The men get dropped off about a mile from there, and they have set up great vantage points in the woods where they can see who comes and goes from the pack. We send out 2 teams, and for 8 hours a day, they sit and wait to see if they can even see her there. I haven't gotten a visual yet of her actually being there, but she has to be there. She has no friends and no one who would stick their necks out to take care of her. I have checked for recent home purchases for large homes to accommodate her and her family both here and in the surrounding states. She hadn't bought a new home, so there were only 2 options on where she could be hidden. She was either being hidden at either Blackadder with Raven, or she is at Blood Tracker, being hidden there by Cole. I know Cole, he would not forgive Reagan so easily. She has to be with Raven, but I have been biding my time. I don't want them to suspect that I will attack them, so I have not contacted any of them. They have no way of knowing what is going on here at Black Moon. As far as they know, Blake is still in charge. We have refused the council entry on 3 occasions and blamed it on Blake each time. The council is furious with him now for the disrespect. I doubt they will even look into it if I killed him, as that is my end game anyway. The fact that I finally got Blake to break months ago, and give me the username and password made no difference. Reagan changed them both, and I still cannot get control of the account. I am going to have to resort to some other methods soon because I need that money. She can't just keep it from me. I will have to just break down and go to the bank soon. The council had advised the gate guards, and Forrest, who had been the one who had gone down to speak with them, that they knew I was free from the cells. They wanted to take me into custody. Forrest told them that Blake had allowed me to be free, agreeing that I had paid my dues. They disagreed with the assessment and told Forrest that they would be watching for me to leave the pack. They have been keeping an eye out on me too. Every time any of the men leave here to go anywhere, the council's enforcers stop the vehicles and search them. They are not giving up on taking me into custody, so I have to stay here. It was the only reason that I haven't gone to the bank already myself. It seemed like they knew that Forrest was lying, at least that was what he said to me. Only the gate guards were there with him, and I can't take the risk of going to the gate to speak with the council members to see if they believe him or not. It would be rubbing their noses in it, and that would piss them off. The council does not like to be disrespected, and they were after me, and Reagan when we left. Silas knew that he and his family had nowhere else to go. Both he and his daughter had stuck their necks out too with that last plan to try to get Brandon to mark Cheryl. I needed to make sure that it wasn't just me as the primary fighter in the group. I knew we needed help. Silas was strong, and so was Cheryl. Billy, Cassandra, and Reagan were all just baggage for us while we were on the run. Silas was acceptable to me at the time, but I didn't really need him around anymore. He has slacked off and has not really been a help to me anymore. I need stronger men around me, and frankly, they are lacking around here. I hate to say it, but things were better when Blake was in charge. I have got to figure out a way to get him on my side, to go in with us, as we need him. His men are not big fans of me or Forrest, and will not accept or take instructions from us. They just do not care about getting stronger at fighting, or learning what we need to learn. They also do not fear punishment, as we can't lock them all up. They are standing together united. Even when we locked the leaders up, the rest stood firm and would not be shaken. Blake made it look simple running this pack, and I hate saying it, but I think that I am going to need him. The Warriors barely listen to Garrett and Mark, and we will never be able to have two men in shape to attack if we don't do something here, and quickly. I do not know what else to do myself, and I am super frustrated. I cannot find Reagan, and I cannot get my money back, and my mate is dead. I do not know what the next step should be, because it all seems like the universe is completely working against me. I know it is the goddess that is doing it, and I wanted to roar out in fury, but it won't solve anything. I am resting my head on my hand on the desk and I heard Forrest enter the room with an angry huff, and throw his phone on his desk. I almost don't want to ask, but to keep him happy, I have to. He clearly wants to say something, but just can't figure out how to start the conversation. I raised my head and looked at him and asked, "Are you okay, Forrest?" I am praying for him to say yes and leave it at that, but of course, that would be too easy. He picks up his phone and tosses it to me. I look down and see a picture of Cheryl, in a wedding dress, looking super happy and gazing up at that bloodsucker. I am stunned. She married that leech? Has she gone crazy? Why in the world would she have even considered doing that? Forrest said, "Just look, there are more pictures." Mom had lost her mind. I started scrolling through the pictures, and I paused because right there as a bridesmaid, I see Reagan and Raven standing there together, looking so happy for her. My goddess, have they all gone crazy over there now? It is not right to mate with one of those bloodsuckers, and she freaking married him. I can understand Forrest's shame over his mother's actions. I am stunned too. What was Cheryl thinking? Why did they even have a wedding? There was no purpose to it for them. They are not a match. Opposites in every way, so how could this even work? I sat back in my chair, and Forrest saw that I was just as shocked as he was about this. I can just imagine his shame if this got out. Was Cheryl so freaking desperate now, that she would take the first man who showed any interest in her, or wanted her? She must have been absolutely desperate to have done this. She should be completely ashamed, as she will not be able to show her face in public anymore. I looked back at Forrest and he seems really pissed. I am getting an idea now, and I already know if I come at this the right way, that I can get Blake completely on my side now. I can work him into a frenzy, and he will be putty in my hands again. I am already thinking of the way I need to play this when Forrest pipes up again and said, "That isn't even the worst part." I need to know what he means by that because what I am currently looking at is really bad, almost unbelievable right now. What else could there be to make this worse? I am almost wanting to rub my hands together in anticipation of this apparent jaw-dropping news that he is about to give me. He takes the phone back from me, and when he hands the phone back he said there are 3 screenshots of a conversation between Robert and Casey. Forrest said, Robert was the one to send the pictures to Casey to tell her about the wedding. He didn't say anything to me about it, he hasn't spoken to me since he left. But he and Casey still communicate together several times a week. Robert told Casey that she is about to be a big sister. Can you believe that she is pregnant by that disgusting leech? He and Kevin really miss Casey and wanted her to come to live at the new house that the fanged bastard built for the family. They are all living together in a very nice house. Apparently, they are all just living it up over there. I have seen pictures of their rooms, and all they have, and it is complete. Why should they be doing better off than me? We need to do something about this. I bet Reagan is spending all of the money that we should have, for herself and her friends. She is just wasting it so we can't have it. My heart drops, as he could be absolutely right. She could be pissing away my money each month. I have nothing right now, and it all belongs to me, and we need to get this fixed, and right this minute. I was doing a quick visit to my businesses for the first 15 years here. I made them unannounced so that the council couldn't make any plans to try to take me into their custody. I guess I need to do it again. I have not gone in to check on my businesses since before I was thrown into the cells by Blake. It has been a long time, and if I go in I can get my banking accounts changed up. That way I can get my money coming back to me. I guess I am pissed off enough to do it now. I have to do something or the money will keep going into Reagan's pocket. Forrest showed me the pictures that he had from back when Roberts sent Casey pictures of when they moved into the house. It was big. I would say even bigger than Reagan's house had been from the size of it. I can see now with all the frivolous spending that she is well out of control. Maybe that was part of the deal for her coming to stay there. She might have to give them a large sum to their pack, and that will build up quickly. That is my FG money, and she shouldn't have control of any of it. I guess I need to make plans to head out early in the morning so we can go to the local branches in the city, to get this S*T hammered out. I have a timeline that I want to hit. I am planning on attacking them on Cassandra's birthday in February. I wanted to do it on the day I met the love of my life, and my life changed at the fall ball. But that is just 3 months away, and we don't have what we need to have to do it successfully. We need to be a serious threat when we approach them. Once I have taken out Blackadder, and then Bloodwalker, the other packs will know to leave us alone. We will be a powerhouse, and other weaker packs will fear us. I will go take over Bloodwalker, and rename it back to Silver Blade Pack. I can give Blake his stupid pack back. He will lose men in this attack, there is no way around that. Forrest can take over this pack when Blake steps down, or he can take over whatever is left of Blackadder. I have 7 months to get this ready to go, and there is no wiggle room on it. I was doing this for a reason. I was doing this out of respect for my mate, and what we had gone through together. I am doing this because my life would have been terrible all these years if not for her. I looked at Cheryl's happy smiling face, and how that fanged demon was looking at her. I am going to kill that bloodsucker first, so she sees what I am capable of. Then I am going to kill that hybrid nightmare that she is about to give birth to. What a disgusting creature it will turn out to be, I shuddered to even think of what it might look like. Then I will kill Kevin, then Robert, and when she is the only one left in her family, I will kill her too. I will not let her go unpunished for what she did to Cassandra. The council may have let her off, trying to blame it on me, but she didn't have to do what she did. She could have just shot them in the legs so they couldn't chase her, but they would have all lived. My heart aches for my sweet Cassandra. I wanted her so very badly. I miss her so much, lying in bed at night in our room. Sometimes I feel like I can still feel her presence around me. I know that my pushing Cheryl as far as I did, made Cassandra mad. She told me to stop, but I couldn't. Last month I found a letter in the closet when I was moving some things around to make room for the clothes that I had just bought. When the envelope fell, I didn't know where exactly it came from. I moved the basket that was sitting on the top shelf and the envelope just fluttered down. It was addressed to me, and I got about a third of the way through it before I had to sit down. Cassandra had written me a letter the night before she died. I remember she went outside to watch the sunset and had been out there about an hour before the sun went down. I could tell she was writing something but didn't know what it was. I was happy that day because I had taken the pills around to all of the girls to give to Blake, so I was glad that Cassandra was busy. She always tried to ask me where I was going, and what I was doing, especially there toward the end. She was so suspicious of me, and what I was doing, for absolutely no reason. She knew nothing of what was going on, at least that is what I thought. I was wrong. Cassandra spoke to me in the letter and she told me exactly what she thought of my actions. All of them from the first night we met at the ball, up until she pointed out that she knew what I had been up to with Cheryl and Blake, and me drugging her. She made me sound despicable, and it hurt my heart. I still missed her every day and hearing her anger at my actions actually hurt my heart. Because what I did was to try to make things better for her. That is why Blake is in a cell right now, and why I am making plans to make Cheryl suffer. I miss my mate every day. I swear that sometimes it seems like she comes to me in my dreams, but when I reach for her, she is no longer there. I have been out of that F*G cell for a year now, but I can't forget her, or move forward. I know that the goddess is punishing me there too. I tried to take a couple of beautiful she-wolves to bed in the last year, but the end is always the same, I cannot finish. The she-wolves acted like they weren't disappointed, but they are talking about me now, and not in a positive way. I had paid them to keep quiet about it, but it is spreading like wildfire here. I will have to deal with them soon, as I can't allow that kind of disrespect to continue. I told Forrest what I was thinking about getting Blake to go in with us on the attack against Blackadder. Forrest didn't totally agree. I knew why. He wants his position to stay the same. It can't stay the same unless we can get Blake on our side. He did like the option of taking over at Blackadder once we attack them. He didn't want the whole pack ruined though from the attack, and I can't blame him for that. I told him that we would take back over my account and that I would fix any issues at Blackadder. I told him that I would take back over at Bloodwalker, leaving us all to run 3 very strong packs. The only thing we needed was to convince Blake that he needed to join us. That was going to be the hardest part, but I think I have got my argument done. I know exactly what I need to say to him now, and we went downstairs to speak to him together. I had done him the same way that he had done me. Forrest had given me pictures of Cheryl, and I had blown them up and placed them on the walls, just like he had done with Cassandra's pictures. He was sitting on the cot, and I felt a little bad, as I have been beating him up, where he cannot fight back. His hands stay shackled, and when it is time I have him lifted so I can do what I need to do to him. He is covered in blood, and I don't allow him to shower. He did me a lot better than I had done him, but I know that I can get this turned around. Forrest was glaring at the pictures of his mother as if she had personally done something to him. She hadn't. She was actually a great mom and had only shot down the idea of the type of car that he wanted. It was simply out of concern for his safety. But he was a spoiled brat and didn't care about any of that. He wanted what he wanted, and her blocking him about the sports car had earned her his hatred. Blake finally looks over at us. He heard us coming but had purposely ignored us. Forrest had not come down here, because he was scared of his father. Scared of what would happen to him once his dad got his hands on him. He had betrayed him in the worst way that he could. The reason for it was absolutely petty because he wanted to take control of the pack, just to get the car he wanted. Forrest was a real piece of work, he really was. He didn't deserve the position of alpha, his brother Kevin did though, but that will not be happening. Kevin will have to die with the rest of them, as well as Reagan and Raven. The glare on Blake's face let me know that I was in for a long talk, but I knew I could spin it like I needed to. I had already decided how I was going to get him on my side. I could care less about what he did to Forrest, but I needed Blake on my side. We stood there silently for a few minutes before Blake growled out, "What are you doing here, Graham? You have already been here today to take your anger out on me." "What? Are you stepping it up to twice a day now? I can tell you now, that you can't make me hate you any more than I do right now." Chapter 170 Blake's POV. What is that POS doing down here? I was going to just ignore him, but then I scented Forrest with him. I couldn't stop myself from looking in their direction after that. Graham looked like he wanted to say something, but Forrest just looked scared. He should be. I wanted to kill them both for hijacking my pack. I didn't want to speak to either of them, but I finally broke down and had to ask what they were doing down here. I wanted to know, as Forrest had not been down here to check on me the whole time I have been down here. A whole year of his backstabbing self being missing in action, trying to hide from me like I was going to forgive him. Graham comes every single day, and I have come to hate him more than I have hated anyone in my life. I didn't want to look at either of them anymore, but Graham took a chair and stayed quiet for a couple more minutes. He finally said, "I am sorry to come down here like this, but I have an offer for you this afternoon." I scoffed and turned back to face him with shock on my face. "You cannot be serious, Graham. You have been much more terrible to me than I ever was to you. Plus, you even dared to confine the only man I could trust down here in the next cell. I have to hear his maid complain about how she and their pups are treated at each visit. I never knew Forrest was this kind of person. If I did, I would never have supported him like I had. I am disgusted with you both, so if you were honestly thinking that I would do anything to help either of you, I will save you both some time. You can go. There is nothing that you can say to me that would get me to want to help either one of you with your ignorant plans," I told them. It was absurd that they would even come down here after the year I have been put through. They can save their breath, because whatever they have to say will not work on me. "Blake, I am sorry for what I have done. I really am, and I want to rectify it. I will help you get Cheryl back into the pack. I realize now what I did hurt you both, and destroyed your relationship. It was my misguided anger that ruined everything. I remember how when I started my plan, Cheryl wanted to have another baby with you. She asked for years, but after I gave you some incorrect information, you refused to give her what she wanted. I failed to understand just what she was willing to do to experience having another baby would be," Graham told me. I have to turn around and look at him. Is he actually serious right now? Is Cheryl going to have another baby? My heart clenches in pain, and I look at her picture of us all as a family. She is standing up straight and proud with our babies all around her. I am looking like I would rather be anywhere but where I am, as the picture was taken. Regardless of my not smiling, and clearly not happy to be present in the picture, it was one of her favorite pictures of us. We rarely got pictures taken of the family together. She was so proud of our little family, and she had this picture blown up and placed over our mantle. It caused her happiness, and I was angry at her insistence on me having Kevin stand in front of me. I insisted that Forrest be the one in front of me because this was about 2 months after Graham started whispering in my ear that Kevin was not mine. I didn't want to have anything to do with Kevin at the time, and he stood at the side of his mother in the picture. Casey was in my arms and Robert was in front of Cheryl. She had one arm on Kevin's shoulders, and her hand on Robert's shoulder. This was really the start of my world being torn apart, and I never even realized it. The beginning of the end, and if it was the last thing that I did, payback would be given for what Graham had done to me, done to us. Are you telling me that my mate is pregnant? Is that what you are saying right now? You need to be clear, Graham, as I don't have 7 years for you to work me into a frenzy again. Say what it is you are implying, and then you can get out of here. I am tired of looking at your ugly face, I told him, and lay on my back on my cot to act nonchalant, but I was anything but. I knew he just couldn't wait to give me the bad news. I refused to let him see how upset he made me. He really liked to dig deep to find ways to hurt me to my very soul. Yes, Blake, I am sorry to tell you that your mate is pregnant. I actually hate to be the one to bring you the bad news. She is going to have another child. I am afraid that this is not the worst of it though, Blake Graham said, and I struggled to keep my face neutral when all I wanted to do was roar out in frustration. We could have been a happy family still if it weren't for Graham. He was the one to tear us apart. I turned my back to them both, as I didn't want to hear anything else. I missed her so much. Being in this stupid cell, all I can do is think, and Cheryl is who I think about the most. Even when I close my eyes, I can see her stricken face after remembering some of the incredibly hateful things that have rolled from my lips. I can see the pain she tried to hide so badly, as she never really could keep it from her expressive eyes. I hurt her so much, all because Graham is a F*G manipulator, and he wanted my pack. The fact that Forrest, Garrett, Travis, and Mark were all okay with it, should let me know just what a mistake I made in appointing them as my ranked wolves. I am even more ashamed of Forrest being my son, and being the heartless creature that he is. He is not alpha material, but Kevin was, and I should have seen that a lot sooner than I did. I just let my jealousy cloud my judgment of Kevin, instead of going with my gut. Forrest is weak, manipulative, and cunning. He is Graham made over, and I should have seen that too. I already know that they are running my pack into the ground. I have heard that from several sources. Thankfully my warriors are not complying with him, I can at least be happy about that. They are refusing to follow the weak direction of Forrest and Graham. I know that is the real reason that they are here. It depends on what they have to say, on whether I decide to play along, or not. I did like the offer of being able to get my mate back here. I wanted another chance with her. I knew if I just got her here, the memories of happier times would work to soften her heart. It was worth a try at least. I still want her, and my side of the bond is still in place as far as me still wanting her. I don't feel the betrayal pains anymore, thankfully, but I still wanted her in my arms. I wanted to mark her again and make her mine. I wanted to make her remember how she loved being in my arms. I realize now, after having a year's worth of time to think about it, that all those years together, I just phoned it in. I found her attractive, but it was her strength that called out to me. She was effortless in her moves, and she was a strong fighter, and that was what I had always wanted in a mate. I wanted a strong mate, one that would be able to handle both my aggressive nature and provide me with strong pups. She did give me 4 strong and wonderful pups. Our lives were good until they weren't. It was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that I was completely the reason for it. Well, Graham and I were both the reason for it. She has made a home with that bloodsucker, Graham said, and I stiffened up, even though I didn't want to show that I was upset by that. Well, she has had a year to get comfortable with the idea of living with him. She rejected me, and I was forced to accept it. We are over now, there is nothing else that I can do to rectify it, I told them as I stared at the wall. That is not true. There is something that you can do, and that is what I was here to talk to you about, Graham told me, and I knew it was coming now. I knew he had planned to attack Blackadder. The whole pack knew it, and the Omega who brought me my food was paid by Aaron to make sure to bring me extra food, and medicine, as well as let me know what was going on. But I didn't know this, so I am sure that Aaron was not aware of it either. He had to be careful as he knew that Graham didn't trust him fully yet. I couldn't really speak to the Omega, so she would bring me notes in my food, usually, my roll, so it wouldn't get messed up. That was why I knew the things I did. Aaron and Trevor were the only members of their family left at Blood Tracker. Thankfully, Reagan and the kids got away from there. Graham might be acting nice now, but as the victim of his abuse for a straight year, I know just how depraved Graham actually is. I was just waiting for him to get to the best part, as I know he still has a hidden agenda. Just waiting for the cherry on top to show up, as Graham is nothing if not consistent. Well, get on with it. I would rather stare at the wall than look at you two, I said to them, and I smelled the fear coming off of Forrest increase with my comment. Good, he should be scared. They are only here because they realized that they needed me, not the other way around. I honestly didn't know how Graham was able to run a pack, other than having a great deal of money to fix problems with. Reagan is pissing away my money, Blake. She apparently built Cheryl and that leech a rather large home, on my dime. They are there playing house, using up all my funds, and it is completely unacceptable. I need your help to be able to get my money back. I know that I have lost probably 80 million in the last year, but I refuse to lose another penny to that ungrateful BH I called a daughter. We need to get weapons and get our training done so we can successfully strike Blackadder down. That is why we need you, Blake, Graham told me, and I can see why he needs me. My men refuse to train, and he has a timeline. I grinned at the wall, as this was what I suspected, and I am glad to mess with him. I might just play along, to see what the offer is, but rest assured, I have my own agenda. What is it you exactly need me for, Graham? Seems like 2 alphas for 1 pack, is 1 too many already? We cannot make it 3, I told them. I knew Graham got the message, but Forrest didn't. Forrest was just a pawn, in name only, because Graham needed him to act as the alpha to successfully take over the pack. He was not a true alpha by any means. I have to say that my disappointment in him runs very deep. Blake, I wanted to offer you your pack back. That is contingent on after we get Blackadder and Bloodwalker taken care of. Then you will get your pack back, to do with as you want. I was going to let Forrest run the Blackadder pack and make the necessary repairs it needs. I already told Forrest that I would correct the damage it sustains from the attack. I will go back and take over Bloodwalker after we deal with them. They took over my pack and absorbed it in with their land, so I am just reclaiming what is mine, back again. This way you can keep control of your pack, and Kevin can take it over after you decide to step down. He would make a perfect choice for Alpha here. Between the 3 of us, we can control the area, and run our packs exactly how we want to. We can force the council to leave us alone, so we can do as we wish with our packs. We can be a powerhouse, Graham told me. I know where he is going with this. He wants to get back at all who have slighted him. That puts Cheryl on the top of his list as an enemy. She killed Cassandra, and there was no coming back from that. He thinks that he is fooling me. I am going to play along, with just a little resistance. No one in their right mind would accept a deal with the bastard who had been beating them up for the last year. Is that all? I will think about it, but I doubt I want to help you too. I know you, Graham. You always have a trick up your sleeve. I know that I cannot trust you, at all. I know that you will be gunning for Cheryl when you attack Blackadder. What makes you think that I will want to be involved in it? She rejected me, she decided that she wants that walking talking dead guy. I cannot believe that she would rather be with him, than with me, I said, and my voice broke at the end. It hurts my heart that it is even true, but I know she does. He won her over too quickly, I mean she had just known him a year before she refused to be with me and rejected me again. I will allow Cheryl to get a pass, for you to help us. I plan on killing that abomination that she created with the leech, as well as the leech himself. Then you will be all clear for taking her while she is miserable, and broken down. That will make it easier for you to bring her back here, as she will have less fight in her from being so upset. I want you to see something. Blake Graham motions for Forrest to step forward with his phone. Forrest is scared out of his mind, and I don't blame him. He should be, but I am a patient man. I need to get free of my imprisonment and get Brady free too. I am willing to negotiate, especially since Graham is willing to do all the dirty work, and I can reap all the benefits from it. I took the phone and I am staring at the picture stunned. Cheryl is gorgeous, and she is blissfully happy. I have never seen her look so beautiful in all the years I have known her. She is wearing a strapless wedding dress and has her arm threaded through that jerk's arm. They were coming back up the aisle and it was clear that they had just gotten married. I never married her, it was good enough that I marked her, and made her Luna. Why would he do this? I see her wedding ring gleaming on her hand, and it is impressive. Was he just trying to show off? Or just make sure that no one missed it? I am sure it was the second reason. They both look so happy as they walk up the grass aisle. This was painful to see, I could feel my throat tighten as I kept looking at the picture, and then glanced up at the wall of pictures of Cheryl. They were all of her and the kids, with me missing, except for that one family photo that she insisted on taking. The one I ruined by looking pissed off in. She was smiling, but it was completely different than the photo in my hand. She wants to be with him. She is bearing his mark now, she is even married. How did that happen? Why did she even accept his proposal? There are more pictures, Dad, I heard Forrest's quiet voice speak to me. I started going through them, with each one making me angrier and angrier. Seeing them in their house, standing in the background of the shots, being so loving to each other. I bet Graham is right. I guess Reagan is just blowing all of his money left and right, just to spite Graham. I bet that has to hurt him too, and his money was what he valued the most. His face was grim, and I know that he is just as upset at them in Blackadder living it up, and we are here, and miserable. I will need you to put it in writing, that you will only kill that bastard she is carrying, and the bloodsucker, Graham. I know better than to trust you, or you. I fixed my eyes on Forrest, ever again. I will help you get the pack in shape. I will help you get your money back, but I want Kevin and Cheryl brought back to the pack. And Robert, Dad, Forrest said, and I saw Graham stiffen up as my son, who never thinks things through, just said something that Graham had not advised me of. I will tell you what happened later, Blake, he is fine. It was the best thing to do as he was the one to send the pictures to Casey. Otherwise, we would not have known what was going on there. I will tell you I did almost kill that leech though when he came to take him. I will not fail the next time I see him. I will make a contract, and we will straighten out the pack together, Graham said to me. No, I will write out the contract, and you will sign it. Like I said, Graham, I know you, and your deceitful ways. It will not happen again to me. Now let me out so I can go get a shower, I growled out to them. Garrett walked up and opened my cell and unlocked the cuffs binding my wrists. I deliberately bumped into his shoulder as I walked out of my cell. I may have lost a lot of weight, but I still worked out as much as I could in my cell. I knew in my heart that I could take Garrett right now if I needed to. I rubbed my wrists as I headed up to my room, only to find that Forrest had taken over mine and Cheryl's bedroom. I went ahead and took a long shower, as I could not get the old caked-on blood off of me. I made plans as I showered, and I felt better when I exited the room. That little *s had taken over my closet and I put a robe on and went to the living room to ask Casey where my clothes were. Apparently, Forrest had thrown them all out, thinking that I would never return. I had to grin, as I will be punishing that little *s soon. I got the Omegas to come up, and take all of his stuff to a visitor's room down the hall. He is still on the alpha level, but I swear I will wring his scrawny neck myself if I see him anytime soon. Cheryl's scent is long gone now, with the bedding now changed to some awful tasteless pattern. I have to shake my head. Forrest is a great disappointment to me, he is nothing at all like me. Kevin was very much like me though, and I am going to let him have this pack. I know I need to be specific in the contract noting that Cheryl, Kevin, and Robert are all brought out of there safely. I also know that I need to have someone go out and get me at least some clothes to wear tonight, so they can be washed and brought up for me to wear tomorrow. I sent Garrett out to do just that. I could tell by his actions that he was scared of what was coming for him as well now too, and he should be. They all need to worry, because once I get my mate and my children safely back to Black Moon, all 5 of those backstabbers will get what is coming to them. I swear to the goddess that I will get them all back for what they have done to me and my family if it is the last thing I do. Chapter 171 Cheryl's POV 3 days ago we had a meeting at Blackadder to discuss the upcoming attack. Graham, it seemed, had run out of ideas, and he had definitely run out of money. Raven, and her mates, Anton and me, Reagan, and Clive, Truett and Stella, former Alpha Cole, and Alpha Carter, as well as Leander, Alexei, and Dmitri, were all present for it. We needed things to progress and they weren't right now, as Graham was at a standstill. Cole, Raven, and Reagan wanted this over and done with the most. None of us wanted it hanging over our heads. They were absolutely done with Graham as he needed to be dealt with, and as soon as possible. All the ideas were put on the table to see what would work best. I know Graham. He cannot stand to look weak, or bad, in front of others. He is failing at this, and that makes him angry. I know him better than anyone here. He cannot allow anyone to one-up him. He had a mate, but she wasn't attractive enough for him. He felt that he should have the very best of everything. She was an attractive lady, she just wasn't a stunner, which was what he wanted. She was a great fighter, but she didn't take his ST, and he didn't like that either. He wanted to control her, he wanted to make her fully submissive to him, which she refused to do. So, he rejected her. I am sure that he didn't get a second chance mate because of his heartless actions towards her, but she got her happily ever after. The goddess pairs us for specific reasons. She knows our strengths and our weaknesses. She knows who will bring out the very best in you, and you in them. He just wanted to have better than everyone else, no matter what it was. His bottom line was and still is for people to be jealous of him. It was my mistake not to mark Cassandra before I stepped out, but I could have never suspected that I would lose her in less than 5 minutes. I guess the goddess knew what she was doing because I still got Raven out of the deal. What we have to do now is piss him off. He doesn't think things through when he is mad, he just reacts. You end up making bad choices at that point. We have to push him hard to get him to react. We do not want to have to wait a year for him to get his men completely trained. We need to make it urgent, and it needs to be something that will work him up very quickly, Cole stated, and we all had to put some thought into it. Well, he hates me because I took his maid away. It would piss him off to know that I got married and am doing so much better than I was. That should infuriate him to no end. He hasn't liked me since I told him how ignorant he was when he came to me to allege that Blake had cheated on me. I knew that feeling, and Blake hadn't done it. So I didn't fall for it, but clearly, Blake did, I said to the group. I hate saying it, but I think that is the route we need to take. Give him just the information that we want him to have. Imply that we are all spending the money as a group. That should send him into a fury with just that. He doesn't know that Anton is using his money, which should be a double blow, seeing that the woman he wants dead is not just being taken care of, but that Anton is spoiling her. Be sure and take pictures of both the game room and the theater room. He is going to think that we all build homes like that and that I am spending his money as fast as he can make it. He will have to leave Black Moon to go get his funds back. As far as I can tell, only Blake has any common sense there in that pack, and he will get it done, Reagan said to the group, and they nodded. I will get in touch with council member Arnold Emerson so he can also help us get this done. He was in on it from the beginning, and the council had let him take care of it this whole time. He can give us some help too, but the only wild card here is Blake. We won't know if he will be with them or not. I can't imagine that he will give Graham or Forrest a pass on this. Blake is a vengeful man, and I cannot believe that he will not make them pay got what they did to him. It is obvious that he still has some kind of attachment to Cheryl here. He may just play along with them to get her back, and then leave them here high and dry. I don't know how this will play out, as I don't know where his head is at. I can assure you that after seeing the pictures that we saw of his terrible treatment, his mind is probably not in the right space. There is no way that you get tortured like that, and you are the same after it. Graham is a sadistic bastard, and he needs to be ended, and soon, Cole told the group. Brandon and Justin were both nodding in agreement, and so was Anton. We all knew that we had to send out a test probe to see where Graham was, as we have not heard anything from Black Moon for a year when Blake left here after accepting my rejection. So, I took some pictures of our wedding pictures on Robert's cell phone. Kevin took pictures of their rooms and all around the house. I had him take some of the downstairs too, and I made sure that Anton and I were in the background for a few of them. We needed to make sure that Graham was still going to go ahead with his plans. It almost seemed like he had given up. We felt like we were just in limbo, waiting to find out when they were going to be coming. I knew Graham would be furious with finding out that we weren't miserable here. The fact that we were flourishing was going to hurt him, and we also wanted him to think that we were frivolous with his funds. I was well aware of the level of hate for me that Graham had. I also knew just how petty and vicious Forrest was, and I knew for a fact that is not how we raised him to be. I knew that Casey had been telling and showing Forrest about the texts she got, because sometimes Forrest would send a nasty text to Robert's phone. He didn't have Kevin's phone, so he sent all the negative messages to Robert. It got so bad, we have to open the messages now before we let Robert see them. The fact that he allows us to do that shows just how heartless Forrest has been to his younger brothers. The funny part is that if they were face to face, he would not say the same hateful things he does through text. He is scared of Kevin, whether he admits it or not. Kevin is looking forward to the coming altercation, as he will be finding Forrest, and beating some sense into him. Forrest is unbelievably hurtful to both his younger brothers. It was his telling them both in his last text, that he doesn't care if some report said they were both related to him, he only claims Casey as his relative. That is why we are now checking the texts first. If Forrest continues to be so despicable, we will block him. Both Casey and Forrest were more like Graham than me or Blake, so I knew that our plan was going to work. They can be manipulated too, and after the last meeting we had, we knew we needed to see what was going to happen to push their hand. We wanted them to at least have a fighting chance against us, otherwise, it will be a ME that Graham had engineered. It was not the warriors' fault, and some were definitely going to lose their lives during the fight. It needed to be Graham and his ranked men who were killed, not the innocent men and women who were just following their orders. We were all surprised at how quickly the plan had actually worked. Erin's spy at Black Moon advised that she saw Forrest and Graham go down to the cells on Monday, and 20 minutes later both Blake and Brady had been released from their cells. She was the one that was sent out to get clothes for Blake, at Garrett's request. She told Erin about how Forrest had taken over the Alpha Suite, and how pissed off Blake was when he found that out. She was really smart to change her look while she was out to get him new clothes. She had cut her hair and changed the outfit from the one she usually wore. She always wore the same uniform when going down to the cells to take him food and medicine. Blake didn't recognize her when she took his clothes to him, and the name she had been writing down for taking him his meals while he was in the cells was not correct. She slipped right through the cracks and could keep at least a little surveillance going at Black Moon for us. I knew that the pictures I sent Forrest would piss them all off. I also knew that my having married Anton, and being pregnant with his child would incite fury in all of them. They were judgmental and felt that they were superior to other species. Thinking about how the meeting went, we accomplished what we intended to. We wanted to push them into moving forward, not knowing that we had eyes on them. Reagan had plenty of money stored away, and they had built a home here too. Their children loved it here, and they figured that they could split their time between the packs after this gets resolved. Reagan knew that Graham had hit Erin up for the money she gave him, so she replaced it, and he put it into another account so Graham couldn't take these funds so easily. Brandon knew that Graham was frustrated by the men not listening to him. Also, Brandon and Cole had put pressure on the council to start giving Graham a hard time at Black Moon. They knew Blake was locked up now, as he was never going to let Graham go. He would have kept showing up here too, trying to cause problems for me here as well. We knew that when he didn't come back we suspected what happened. When Graham had shown up the next day at Blood Tracker we knew for a fact that Blake was either dead or locked up in a cell. We all assumed that it was going to be the latter. We all knew that Graham would be wanting revenge on Blake for punishing him. But from what Trevor has said, Forrest is mad that he doesn't have more control over the pack. Trevor doesn't go over often, and they usually meet somewhere else to have lunch. Forrest had no idea he is leaking so much information, but for the last 2 months, nothing has happened. Forrest is going to keep it up though, because we all knew that Forrest would start bragging again, and we needed to know what he would be saying. We knew we didn't want the threat of war looming over our heads waiting for them to come to us whenever they wanted to. We figured that we should move it along a little quicker, as we were prepared and ready to go now. The less prepared they were would be best for us in this fight. So we omitted a few things. I also made sure that they were not aware I was no longer a she-wolf. They will find out that little surprise on their own when they come here. We also didn't mention that Anton has more money than Graham could ever dream of and that Anton had paid for our home. We knew that Graham would assume, and we wanted him to. His only love now was money, and that is the way to push him. Plus, I have to say that I felt a lot of guilt for poor Blake being beaten every day. I saw the pictures that the lady got for us. He looked terrible. He has lost weight, and he had given up hope. You could tell that he had nothing to live for anymore. I also saw that Graham had done to Blake, exactly what Blake had done to him. He had hung up pictures of me on the wall. I was stunned to see that because I am sure Blake isn't hung up on me, at all. He never was in love with me, as far as I could tell from how he used to treat me. It was clear to me now that I was the fool in love with Blake, but he had never been in love with me. Now that I have been treated so well by Anton, I know what it feels like to be loved, to be needed, to be wanted, and it is wonderful. We found out last night that they were moving forward with their plans. I knew that Graham would be furious to see Reagan in the pictures. So after speaking with them, and then with Brandon and Cole, I made sure to send a picture with both her and Raven included in the background of it. It was a big FU to him and we just couldn't resist doing it. We knew he had been trying to find Reagan for a year now, with no success. He suspected that she was here, but had no proof of it. The warriors he sent to spy on our pack for her, were tramping through the forest, and not even trying to hide their locations. If they had even suspected how many times they could have been killed by one of our marksmen, they would have never returned here again. Graham's men were not trained at all. We all knew that as soon as Graham could get his hands on his money again that his confidence in attacking us would grow, and we needed him to be bold enough to attack quickly. He had no way to know that Blackadder had been training this whole time, all because the goddess gave them a heads up. I was not aware of the fact that they were descendants of the goddess. All of this came as a surprise to me, just like how prepared they were here. I first learned exactly how well prepared they were when we went to Blood Tracker to help them with the vampires that were after Reagan. I was so glad that I went, as originally Raven wanted me to just let her stop Blake from using the girls as bait. I knew he would not listen to her at all, and that I had to go. I knew that he would try to still use them to lure the vampires, as he was willing to blame anyone but himself for what had happened to us. We were heading into the meeting today, and we needed to find out how things were progressing. It was Wednesday and although it has only been 2 days, they were very busy on Tuesday. The council had notified us that 6 SUVs had left the gates, and they could only get 4 of them stopped to be searched. That was smart of Blake, and they had no way to stop the last 2, who went in opposite directions. What they didn't know was that there were more council warriors present, but not in the marked SUVs. They had followed them right to the corporation and watched Blake escort Graham into the building with the rest of his ranked wolves. We saw the pictures, and although Blake looked slimmer than he normally did, his commanding presence was still clear for anyone to see. The council notified Cole and Brandon of it last night and sent the cell photos to Brandon. Reagan was smiling as she started the meeting off. So, Graham went to his closest business for a surprise inspection yesterday. He went through the process of checking the plant quickly and he also stopped by HR to speak to them about changing accounts and also taking my name off of his businesses. I was expecting it and knew it was a matter of time. They sent me the notifications this morning. I made sure to check my account daily, so I could transfer any available funds and not leave anything behind for Graham. It was my gift to him, so although he got it put into another account, he won't have any money for almost a few weeks. I know that he is happy with getting this done. Clearly, Blake is much smarter than Graham is, as he got it handled in less than 24 hours out of his cell. I bet that didn't go over well as no one else had figured out what they needed to do to get it done in months. I know they all have to be feeling pretty stupid right about now, Reagan announced to the room. Aaron called me and said that he was going to wait and see if Blake was going to come to him first. Aaron doesn't know how to approach Blake right now because this is a dangerous situation to be in. Blake was with Aaron and Reagan at first, but right now none of us know the headspace that Blake is in. With this going on, it is safe to say that since Blake is the smartest at Black Moon, he will be able to get them straightened out. Plus, I believe that we all know what Graham has promised him. Out of this, Brandon spoke out in the quiet room. I could feel their eyes on me, and I hate to admit they might be correct in their assumption. I could feel Anton's fingers tighten up on the hand that he was holding, and he murmured to me, "I will never let him take you, my love." I know what kind of a vicious man Graham is. We all know what he is planning to do. He will want to kill every single one of us in this room, including me. We need to get our people practicing with their weapons, as well as training at least 4 days a week. Hopefully, we will still get a heads up on when they are coming, before they hit the gate, Brandon stated to the room. We all agreed with his assessment. We have got to be prepared, as we will only be getting one shot on this. We have to protect our children. We have to protect our pack. We have to be ready to go at any time. Chapter 172 Raven's POV. Reagan was nice enough to make sure that she infused us with the needed materials for our pack. Training with weapons is something that needed to be done, and you use up both bullets and arrows to do that. The arrows can be reused, but they can sometimes snap and break, so having an order put in was a blessing. We all thought that it was pretty funny that the man hell-bent on destroying us had unintentionally funded us too. We knew that due to Graham's better than others opinions on wolves, he wouldn't want any others to help them. So we believed that we would only be fighting against wolves, but we weren't going to just take that as the whole truth. We had to be prepared for any contingency that may arise. Graham wasn't an IT, although he had been acting a little like one for the last few months. He knew Anton was a vampire, and so he may have a vampire or two included in his group. He wouldn't let them be a pack member, but he would pay them to help with the attack. So, although we were prepared for vampires, we also wanted to protect the vampires that would be assisting us. We were not going to take any chances on one of Alexei's coven being attacked, so they started coming to dinner 3 times a week for our pack members to get to see them and know who the good guys were, as when you are in a panic, you are not thinking straight. We started having question and answer sessions, once a week as a town hall meeting. They were allowed to ask Alexei's group questions, and the coven also surprised us by asking questions back to us. Seated in the center of the lineup were Anton and Cheryl. Their love story was one that many were curious about. Their uniquely qualified perspective allowed them to field questions from the pack and the coven. I was surprised at the number of questions they actually had. The biggest question, which was asked numerous times, with just a slight variation, was about the bond, and what it felt like. Cheryl fielded this question as she knew where they were going with it. She always answered the questions very well, and I was proud to say at this point, the men were finally getting some attention from the female members of the pack. Before, it had been the unmated men blatantly flirting with the females of the coven. They didn't even try to hide the fact that they were checking them out, or interested in them. It didn't always work, but there had been some instances where a few of them got lucky. The unmated women here, though, had not been approaching any of the men, up to that point. It seemed like they had been too scared to approach. That has changed recently, as Cheryl and Anton have been more visible in the last few months. Cheryl is showing now, as we are about to approach the 13-month mark for her pregnancy. Anton has been so perfect through the whole thing. He has always doted on her, but with her being pregnant with their babies, he has really stepped up his game. He would do anything for her, and she is eating it up. It was clear from how Blake was when he visited here that she had been starved for affection, even before Graham's campaign against them. She deserved to be treated well, and it was obvious to those of us who had spent time with her and Blake while he was here visiting her, that she hadn't been. Blake had been coming here for a year to try to win her over, and yet he had her make his plate, and get his drinks for him. He was a bossy, aggressive type, and never thanked her for what she did. It was clear that he just expected it from her, so that showed us all that he had been doing it for a long time. Even when she was not fully healed or very strong yet, he still had her doing it. I think about my mates, and they were the complete opposite. Justin is caring and kind, always thinking about what he can do for me. Brandon is aggressive and protective of me, but he will follow Justin's lead with an offer for a back rub, or massaging my feet. Brandon had thankfully learned that Justin was no threat to him and that they needed to learn to work together, not separately. They really made sure that I was taken care of with each pregnancy. Don't get me wrong though, Justin is a very strong fighter too. He can be just as aggressive and protective if the situation warrants it. I felt a little thrill of anticipation go through me. I had made plans for us all for tonight. Dinner in our room for the three of us, and dessert. The boys were spending the night with Cheryl and Anton. They wanted to make sure that they had some special time for the boys and their friends before the babies came. It would be too much for a little while after the babies arrive, at least at first. So Cheryl and Anton had the boys over usually twice a week these days, which freed up time for me, Brandon, and Justin. My assistant would be there for them if the younger children needed anything tonight, but they usually didn't need us after they went to bed. Our children were older now, with Jax soon to be 18 and the twins 6 months behind him. Our youngest children, Julie and James, were about to be 12 years old soon. It is hard to believe that I will have known my mates for over half my life now. I will be 37 soon, and I found Justin and Brandon both at 18. We will have been together over half my life once my birthday gets here. It seems like such a long time when you think about it like that. But our time together has gone by so quickly. I wanted tonight to be special because it was the anniversary of the first time that we were together, the three of us. I didn't expect anyone else to remember, but I did, and I felt it was a great reason to celebrate us. It just worked out great for Cheryl to have the older boys over to their house. They were going to have their hands full too. As it wasn't just the 6 boys, my 4, and her 2, that were going to be there. They were also having Stella and Truett's older boys, Blaine, Andrew, and Aiden over too. Reagan's older sons, Henry and Jonathan, came over as well. Lainey and Crew's sons, Warwick, Gabriel, and Kendrick. I cannot imagine the level of noise that they are going to have in their home tonight with 14 teenage boys ranging from almost 18, down to 14 years old. The babies could come at any time starting next month, and she wanted to let the boys have as much together time with their friends at the new fun house. They hands down had the most fun things to do there, as Anton wanted to create an environment for the boys to have a good time with their friends. He wasn't trying to buy their affection, they already loved him. But Anton grew up with few friends, and Cheryl's boys had as well. He wanted them to have a better experience than he did, and I thought it was so sweet of him to think of ways to keep them from being lonely. The boys were not spoiled. They had housework that they had to do, and they did it with no complaint, even when it increased as Cheryl's pregnancy progressed. They never complained because they were used to her house rules already. She kept them enforced both in the pack house and in their new house as well. She ran a tight ship, but as a former Luna, I knew she would. It helped her feel like she still had a little control in a situation where she had no real answers about this pregnancy. Dr. Gurin was over weekly since she had found out she was pregnant. He was noting everything about it, but with any pregnancy, nothing is always normal from one person to the next. He was as excited about the pregnancy as Cheryl and Anton were. He measured her, and Anton had bought the same portable ultrasound machine for their home for the doctor to be able to use. He knew how much Cheryl didn't like the pack hospital, as she spent a lot of time there when she first arrived. Plus, he was not a huge fan of Dr. Max, even though Max had a mate now. The downside to it was that Dr. Max had to come to the house to sit in with Dr. Gurin to help watch her pregnancy progression and make notes about what they were seeing. Since it made Cheryl more comfortable to be home than in the hospital, Anton was happy to go along with it. He still kept a close eye on Dr. Max though. Anton was always happy to see his babies growing bigger and bigger each week. Dr. Gurin had increased the amount of blood Cheryl needed by almost double. She needed protein, vitamins, and a few nutrients from it, as the babies got some of that blood themselves. I was curious, as she did eat food too, mostly to keep her nutrients up, and it helped the boys to see her still eating. Even though they wanted her to be happy. I know how hard it was for them to realize that she was not the same woman now, who had given birth to them both. She told me that she and Anton took the boys' thoughts into consideration and they drank their blood usually in their bedroom, and not out in the open. They did it for not just the boys, but for their friends too. It was one thing to know that you were dealing with a vampire, and another to see them feeding on blood. I have to say that I understand that too. I know it would bother me as well to see someone drinking blood. I had asked her it, as we have all had the taste of blood in our mouths when we hunted in our wolf's form. Emerald is an excellent tracker, and I know the metallic taste that comes with blood in your mouth. Cheryl told me it got easier to taste the blood after she had been changed. That she doesn't mind the increased blood that she has to drink, as it was best for the babies. It is supposed to have an excellent nutritive value to it, and in several countries, it is totally normal to find several foods with blood included in the recipe. I will just stick to hunts though, as Emerald doesn't mind it at all. But once I phase back, I don't like the feel of it in my mouth and usually rinse my mouth out as soon as I can. I had the lead Omega plan the dinner, she knows what we like, and she always does a great job for us. She knew it was an anniversary for us, so I know that she will do her usual excellent job for us. Justin and Brandon were still in the office making plans. They needed to see what we needed to order to make sure our pack is well supplied. Now that Graham has his money back, he will be ready to go in 4 to 6 months. I think with Blake's help, they will wait a little longer as Blake is thinking more rationally than Graham is. I went up early to soak in the tub, as I did enjoy getting to do that, and I didn't get the opportunity very often. Regardless of how great the children are, there are still 8 of them, and that comes with its own set of headaches. I was relaxing in the tub with my head on my pillow and my mask on when I could feel that I was being watched. I took the mask off to see both Brandon and Justin standing there, looking at me. We were wondering why you weren't answering the link or your cell. We got worried, Justin told me. I had to smile as they were busy doing important things, but still took time out to check on me. I realized that the water wasn't warm anymore, and rose up to drain the tub. I was very relaxed, and I could see the interest they had in me the moment I stepped out of the tub. I couldn't stop my smirk as I walked to the shower and turned it on. I still needed to wash my hair, and the invitation was not missed as they both started stripping off to shower with me. It didn't matter if they remember the anniversary or not. They both had the anniversary of us all marking each other as our official anniversary. But I have more anniversaries in my head. The first time Brandon and I slept together. The first time I slept with Justin. Plus, today's anniversary of us together as a unit, with us all sleeping together, not just in the same bed, but as a threesome. Some may think it is a stupid idea to celebrate it, but with how badly our relationship started out, with all the jealousy, and them not cooperating at all. It was terrible, and I am glad that we have moved on from that. To me today was the beginning of when the goddess put it on both their hearts that what we had together was not just supported by her, but endorsed and encouraged. That today was the best of all our anniversaries. Because this was the one that symbolized how far we had actually come. Because only with the goddess supporting the three of us, could this have happened with two alpha males. It was basically unheard of in the werewolf community. So was being marked by two males at the same time. Everyone knew that you got one mate, certainly not two, not at one time. But with the goddess allowing both of them to bear my mark, and me carrying both of their marks on me, it showed everyone that she had blessed this union between us. I had Brandon behind me washing my hair. I knew we were going to get to have a couple of rounds tonight, and we might as well start in the shower, so we can clean up for the second one. I think Brandon had the same ideas and he hit his knees behind me after the finished with my hair and Justin sat down on the seat. Brandon worked me with his tongue, as I bent and started working Justin with my mouth. When Justin leaned forward and gave me another kiss before he said, "Happy anniversary, babe. You remembered?" I asked him. "We both did," Brandon said from behind me, as he slid out of me. "You both remembered it?" I was stunned. Usually if one of them remembers it is Justin. "I have all of them on my calendar now, so I will not miss any of them," Brandon said as he pulled me up and turned me around to give me a heated kiss. I hugged him and smiled into the kiss as we both know that Justin had helped him with it. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that they both loved me completely, and that was the best part of all of it. The fact that we can still have moments like this, where we all feel loved and appreciated, together. That was the most important part. We all washed clean again and spoke to each other as we dried off. We had called this morning to see about making a special order for us for tonight. We knew the moment she paused for about 5 seconds that you had already done it. So we cancelled it, as we didn't want her to tell you what we were planning. She already knew to take care of us, Justin said to me. There was a knock on the door about 5 minutes later, and when I opened it, I was surprised myself. There were 2 carts. One had 3 trays on it covering our food. The second cart had a wine on ice that was much more powerful than normal wine, as it was hard for wolves to get intoxicated. There were also chocolate strawberries, whipped cream, and some melted chocolate in a double boiler, with a burner under it. She knew how to keep it warm, but not hot, and I am quite sure this was a new item as I had not seen it yet. That meant that she had purchased it recently. She nodded to me, and said, "Happy anniversary to you all," before giving a slight bow and leaving the area. "Surprise, baby, I know how much you like chocolate, and I wanted you to be happy for our anniversary," Brandon told me. So he had planned something special for tonight. I pulled both carts into the room, but before serving, I wanted to see what was on the second cart. I saw marshmallows, pineapple, pretzels, cherries, bananas, and apple slices. Brandon liked that even though he was usually the busiest of all of us, he had surprised Justin and me with such a thoughtful, and delightfully naughty, dessert tray. I already had ideas of what I was going to do with a lot of it, as images of licking chocolate, and whipped cream off of each of them, rose into my mind. I can already tell that this was going to be a very nice night. I can see that Justin had the same idea as me when I said, "Don't get too full tonight, we all need to make sure that we all leave some room for dessert." Chapter 173 Blake's POV. I am trying hard to control my rage, and it is just day 2. I tried to contain it, but them thinking that I am so stupid that I will just follow them like a little lamb after they all betrayed me was ridiculous. They must have all lost their minds. I will not allow this to pass without a great deal of punishment. I am praying that they will be killed during the attack, and honestly, I might be the one to do it. I needed to speak to Aaron, but they are always around, wanting to watch me. They wanted to know if I had forgiven them for the daily abuse. Right, I forgive you for all the broken ribs, bruises, torn ligaments, and all the horrible treatment that I had to suffer through here. Dirty sheets that were covered in my blood. The only reason that I agreed to this whole thing was that I wanted out of that cell. The fact that none of them were smart enough to try to outsmart the council outside was the most ridiculous part of it. The council only had like 4 SUVs, so common sense told you to use more than 4 of our SUVs to get Graham out of here. Their lack of critical thinking really drove home just how ignorant they all were. The fact that Graham and Garrett kept telling me what a great job I had done for us to get free really took me by surprise. They were not paying attention at all. We had a tail, one that I was 100% sure had been tailing us the whole time, even though I had lost sight of them in traffic twice. The fact that the same men passed us when we were pulling back into the pack, allowed me to know just how clueless they truly were. They never saw them. The tail was that obvious, but when you expect one to be on you, you should be looking for it the whole time. I look forward to when I can go and meet up with Aaron, but I know that I will never be going over to visit him alone. There are things I need to discuss with him, privately, and I already know that I won't be able to do it. I don't have a phone, and I doubt I will be getting one-on-one time with Aaron anytime soon. They know that he is my cousin and my friend. So I will just throw myself into working my anger out during training. I needed to whip my men back into shape anyway. I will not be forcing Graham, Forrest, Mark, or Garrett to participate in it. My whole goal is for those 4 to be killed during the attack if anyone does happen to get killed, but I hope not any of my warriors. It is my job to take care of and protect them. The less prepared those morons are for this attack, the better. Graham may have been an alpha before, but I am 100% sure, he wasn't a good one. Forrest is naturally lazy, and doesn't even realize just how bad of an alpha that he already is. Garrett and Mark still trained, just not as hard as they used to. I will not ask any of them to come to training with me, as they all seem to think that they are strong enough. The steps that I am putting my warriors through are a lot harder, but they are up to the challenge. Brady is training them with me, and we had both been doing what we could while we had been locked up in the cells. We prayed that one day we would be able to be free, but really didn't think that we would see the light of day again. His wife was so happy to have him home, and I told Graham to put him back on salary again. Graham had plenty of money right now. Our showing up there 2 days ago to change accounts had come at a perfect time. There were large quarterly bonuses that went into his account, and our showing up when we did, had earned him a windfall today. He had been busy spending money all day long. Weapons, ammunition, new clothes, and new art for his home, and then started ordering a new vehicle, for himself. He had received a large amount, a little over $4 million, and he had gone through half of it today. He is spending money left and right like he doesn't have any sense at all. He is planning an attack and needs to have the funds available to make sure it is successful. But he is just pissing it away almost as fast as he got it. He is absolutely ridiculous, and I prayed that the goddess would be giving them all that they deserved. Graham had a town hall meeting for the pack last night. He announced that we 3, him, Forrest, and I were all alphas for the pack. What joke, 3 of us, we cannot all be alphas of Black Moon. He really is delusional with the amount of crap he is talking about. It was confusing to the pack members, and to Forrest, who was obviously the most shocked that Graham would allow me to be alpha again. The fact that Forrest was surprised about it, showed just how spaced out he was about this. Forrest really thought that Graham respected him. He believed all the bull that Graham had told him. He wanted to believe him as he wanted everything that Graham had promised him. Things like that car that we both told him that he was not ready to drive. We were right about it too. I had heard Brady's wife mention that Forrest was on his second new car after he wrecked the first one. I didn't care if Forrest got hurt in the accident either. I had heard it messed the car up, but that Forrest was unharmed. I just couldn't bring myself to care after how he betrayed me. He was dead to me now, and he probably would be soon. The fact that he showed those photos to Graham, his intent was clearly apparent to all of us. He wanted to get Graham pissed off. He wanted Graham to be pissed off and mad at his own mother. I have no idea how Forrest managed to become so despicable, but I know it was before Cheryl ran away. Cheryl may have been able to put a stop to it if she wasn't having to focus so much energy on protecting Kevin all of the time or dealing with her own tormentors. I know I missed it because I was so focused on punishing Cheryl, that I didn't see it myself. I was blind to what my own children were becoming because now they are spoiled brats. Cheryl had both of our good children with her, and I was left with the children I had given too much to them and ruined them with all the spoiling I did. No teenager needs $1,000 a week, not for spending money. Cheryl warned me over and over again, and I ignored her. The fact that Forrest got Graham focused on Cheryl again. I swear, I wanted to kill them both before they could get near her again. I did get to speak to Brady though, on the way to training today. They do not worry about him yet. He is planning out heading out into the city tomorrow with his wife. They need to get some stuff, and he needs a haircut and shave. They will be able to travel freely and I am going to have him get me a cell phone. One that I can send messages to Aaron with. I cannot allow Graham to hurt my family again. I know that he is gunning for Cheryl and my children. I know what his evil little mind is thinking, and I can't let it happen. I have hurt them enough already, I can't let it happen ever again. I do still want to speak to Cheryl. I would love to have her come back to Black Moon to be my Luna. I will offer it to her again, but having had time to stop and think while I was in the cells, I knew I had lost her. I had time to reflect on each of our interactions. Ones where I was reacting in anger, and not seeing her hurt and confused face looking back at me. She honestly didn't know what I had been implying about her. She kept trying to tell me, to straighten me out, but I trusted that piece of crap, instead of my mate. The blame was on my shoulders, and I would bear it. I was not acting when I saw the pictures. Seeing her so happy without me, had hurt. She deserved every happiness, and if that was with him, I will leave them alone. I saw his face in the pictures too. He looked like she had hung the moon for him. His love for her was apparent to anyone who was looking at them. He didn't try to hide it or downplay it. She deserved someone like that in her life. I cared for her, I may have even loved her, but I never treated her like I did. I was always tearing her down, instead of building her up. Whatever Anton was doing for her, it looked good on her. I see how she looked now that she is taken care of. I almost wish I had a way to be able to see the picture again. I know that when I do get a phone, I will be sending all the pictures to it, and then delete the evidence from Casey's phone. I cannot give anyone here an inkling that I am just playing along with them. I guess the pain and frustration on my face showed them what they wanted to see, that I wanted to punish Cheryl. I was upset, but it was because it was clear from seeing them that it was done. I will have to see if I am willing to extend the offer when the opportunity comes. I don't know if I am willing to embarrass myself by asking her to come back to me again. I already know the answer. Even if her mate gets killed in the attack, I know in my heart that she will never come back here again. At least, not voluntarily. I am heading to go eat lunch when I saw Forrest and Graham at the head table eating. I just do not want to deal with them, so I walked over to the Warriors table to sit with them. I heard Graham call across to me, "Blake, come sit with us. I would like to speak to you." It may have sounded polite, but we all knew it was an order, not a request. I excused myself and headed to the head table but sat a chair down from Graham. I could not sit right next to him. I might try to choke him out, and I am aware I am nowhere near my full strength. But I will be, and soon if I can keep this pace up. Then no one can stop me when I go to teach him a lesson. It was coming, and one day, he will get what is coming to him. If the goddess is willing, it will be by my own hands. Blake, I wanted to thank you for all your help. I cannot believe how quickly you got it done, and honestly, I feel like I need to give you some kind of reward for it. Is there something that you would like to have? A new car or truck? A new SUV? I want to do something for you as you showed up at the right time, or else that ingrate I raised would have gotten that bonus for herself. I made sure I have plenty of weapons and ammunition coming our way. I also paid someone to come out and train us on how to use them as well. I just wanted to show you how much I appreciate your help. Without you, all of that money would have been lost to me, Graham told me with a smile on his smug face. How about my mate loving me again? Can you do that, Graham? Can you fix what you broke? These were the first things that sprang into my mind. We both knew he couldn't, especially since he was the one to break them in the first place. I knew I couldn't ask him for any of that, so I kept my mouth shut for a minute, chewing my food and thinking about what it was that I wanted. I can't give him even the suspicion of me not being on board with him. I needed him to be thinking about the upcoming attack, not doubting me at all. I also know that Graham would think that I owed him something for this, and I won't. Not after the year that I have had getting beaten up by him every day. I owe him nothing, and I never will. He owes me a debt that can never be repaid. Because he didn't just break up my mate and me, he crushed our relationship under his heel. He made sure that it was so destroyed that it couldn't be repaired, no matter what I did. I wouldn't mind having another truck again, Graham. A quad cab with a protective grille on it, I told him. I could see he remembered I used to have one when they first arrived. I needed it as the road into the pack was horrible back then. But after Cheryl and I had 4 children, we needed to transport them around in an SUV. I think you should get a sports car, Dad, one like my Audi. I have no problems picking up girls in it. You should get a car, you still look good for your age. I am sure you can do the same, Forrest told me. The desire I have to punch him right out of his chair runs through me. I cannot believe that this is actually the sweet boy who couldn't wait to grow up and be just like me. How did he miss the mark so badly? He was nothing at all like me, he was like Graham. I guess being around Graham his whole life, obviously had a bigger impact on him, than it should have. Cheryl and I raised him, and yet he is not like either one of us. He was like Reagan used to be. Condescending, petty, and entitled, like others were not worth his time. I remember Cheryl begging me to stop giving him money for him to go out shopping. She warned me he was getting too cocky, and she wanted to stop rewarding him for bad behavior. She saw it coming, she told me to stop. I was just so impressed with Forrest, I could see nothing at all wrong with his behavior. I was too busy praising the wrong son to see that I was wrong for it. It was just another way for me to put Cheryl in her place. I don't need a sports car, son, I can take care of myself, thank you, I managed to say, as nicely as I could. But he needed an attitude adjustment in the worst way. He really thought that he was above everyone else. He also was enjoying speaking down to me. He tried to play it off as funny, or sarcastic, but he wasn't smart enough to pull it off. He was mad that I was not only out of the cells but also noted as being alpha again. I held the title here for almost the last 20 years, of course, my pack was going to look at me like I was in charge. They had been following me for a while. I was just saying it to try to help you, Dad. You have to let Mom go, she doesn't deserve you anymore. She has lowered herself too much for you to ever be able to accept her again. The fact that she is with a vampire should be a line crossed that she can't come back from. I am ashamed of her being my mother. I will not admit it if someone asked me about it. I have not mentioned it only because I do not want my reputation besmirched by anyone knowing that my mother is a blood WE for that leech. She should truly be ashamed of herself for what she has done. The fact that she would bring such an abomination into the world. What is she thinking? The baby will be nothing but a freak, and unaccepted by wolves, or vampires. They should have thought about what they were doing before that happened. I don't know how in the world the goddess allowed that to happen. It is a travesty if that atrocity even draws a breath. Someone needs to kill that disgrace before people find out about what she had done, Forrest said to us, and my stomach turns at his only concern is what people will think of him. I am very disappointed in him. I don't think you need to talk about your mother like that. I doubt she would be super proud of you, and your actions either. So just calm down, because no one knows. Your reputation, what there is of it, is safe from her. You look bad, I told him. If anyone is going to make him look bad, it will be him. You won't have to worry about it much longer, Forrest. We will deal with her lover and that bastard child. It would be wrong to allow such a creature to live. What would it even look like? Or take after? It might be some kind of a hybrid that goes around having to drink from us. We just cannot take the chance. Your father can bring her back here. No one has to know. He can give her another pup, to replace the one she is about to lose. It wouldn't be right to allow it to live. What kind of a life would it even have? No, the best thing to do is to kill them both, the leech and the baby, and bring your brothers and mother back here to live. I am sure your father will be fine with giving her another child. I think that would be best for all involved. You don't have to be here to even see her anymore, Forrest. You will be alpha for Blackadder. So, you don't even have to worry about anything here, Graham told him. Forrest was happy because that pack was a lot bigger than my pack. I was angry at the way they were both speaking about an innocent baby. Obviously, the goddess allowed it to come into existence, it had a purpose. What right did they have to decide its future like that? I watched as Graham de-escalated Forrest while telling me what he thought I wanted to hear. Graham is a master manipulator. I have to say that it was both weird and impressive how effortless he made it look as he tried to con both of us at the same time. Forrest promptly agreed with Graham and they started discussing something else. But I didn't care enough to listen to either of them. I just finished my meal quietly and went to take my tray back. I have to make more of an effort to avoid them from now on. I know I can't keep from seeing them again. We live in the same pack, so I have to see them. But I will start coming down to eat either earlier, or later for my lunch and dinner. I can grab a quick breakfast as I usually eat that pretty quick and then head out to train. I cannot let Graham get my focus off of what needs to be done here. He has enough control over others, I cannot let him be successful with what he wants to do. Regardless of whether Cheryl has moved on, or not. I care about her and our children. I cannot allow them to be hurt because Graham is clearly unhinged. I know that the goddess will be giving him what he deserved to get a long time ago. I just have to be patient, and keep training. I cannot allow him to catch me unaware again. This can only end one way. I refuse to allow Graham to carry out his plans successfully.